Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Also, for discounts on FanDuel.com, a fantasy sports site, the promo code is Dwyer777. You know, in researching, just as an aside, in researching the BJ Flores-Tony Bellew fight, right, I came across really a fight that's worth mentioning. It's in my favorites folder here online. Flores fought for the cruiserweight title against Bellew Shumenov. Now, you might recall Bellew Shumenov is a guy who I've long said here online is one of the best athletes in boxing. He was the light heavyweight champion for a number of years. He fights Bernard Hopkins, is lethargic in that fight, right? Throws less than 650 punches, right? At one point gets dropped by Hopkins, loses his share of the light heavyweight title. Well, Shumenov then teamed up with a name you need to keep track of. Ishmael Salas. Right? Shumenov didn't have a trainer for the Hopkins fight. He decided to sign on with Guillermo Rigondio's trainer. Right? So, Salas, in some of the best work I have ever seen in terms of remaking a fighter, right, convinces Shumenov to use his athleticism to actually develop a back foot game. So Shumenov is in the ring against BJ Flores, relying on a back foot game that really you don't see in Shumenov's fight against Hopkins. Right? You don't see in other Shumenov fights. Well, let me just tell you, the fight is, in my opinion, a masterpiece. He undresses Flores by chance. By chance. One of the announcers on the telecast, and it's a special moment for boxing fans, is Sugar Ray Leonard. And let's just say Ray Leonard, watching the fight, was just taken in by Shumenov's back foot game. It's even more dramatic when you realize that it's new. Well, to make a long story short, Shumenov keeps BJ Flores guessing a lot of the fight. He comes out, he loses the first 2 rounds, folks. Shumenov does. Then he takes over the fight on his back foot. I know CompuBox has BJ Flores landing more punches. Trust me, Flores lost that match, right? You see the limitations in Flores' game. You see the possibilities in Shumenov's game. Now, let me sound ridiculous. Something's happening at cruiserweight. At heavyweight, guys are flat-footed these days, right? Not a lot of guys are going to get up on their toes and start dancing, right? Guys are flat-footed. Everyone at heavyweight thinks they're George Foreman these days, right? Guys are flat-footed. Guys are hoping to knock you out. They don't want the fight to go the distance. Some of the guys, Anthony Joshua, hasn't even gone the distance. At cruiser, it's different. 2 of the champs at cruiser, right? Alexander Usyk and Bellew Shumenov, in my opinion, because of their ring generalship, because of their back foot games, their ability to use the entire ring to hit you, move, turn you, hit you again, move, turn you, hit you again, pile up points, not get hit. In my opinion, those 2 cruiserweight champs, and I'm talking about current cruiserweight champs, are a serious threat to every heavyweight champion out there. Right? Let me say this. BJ Flores, let's get to him. This is supposed to be on Flores and Bellew, right? BJ Flores is a smaller version of Anthony Joshua. You know these people. When you're on the highway in your car, these are the people in the slow lane and the middle lane. Right? You know what I've said for a while here online about Anthony Joshua. Great athlete who's cautious in the ring. Cautious. Right? He's the craftsman who doesn't trust his tools. Right? He's the person who needs to have the green light go on before he goes forward. Same thing with Flores. Right now, Danny Green, right, the former cruiserweight champion, right? I think Danny is retired now. In fact, I think he has a fight coming up against Anthony Mundine that's really a, victory lap after their careers type fight. Danny Green is one of two men to beat BJ Flores. The other, Shumenov, right? And Danny Green, perhaps more eloquently than me. And I'm going to paraphrase him because I know there's some young people watching these videos. Right? Danny Green summed up BJ Flores by saying that BJ Flores, and it's a paraphrase on my part, let's make this PG. Danny Green said that BJ Flores lacked the baseballs to be champion. Right? According to Danny Green, a guy like Tony Bellew is willing to get knocked out as he goes for a win. Right? Tony Bellew is all in. Right? BJ Flores, by contrast, at least to Danny Green, who clearly beat BJ Flores, is more interested in being a celebrity. Right? Is a guy about town who, is an excellent boxing commentator, loves being a part of the sport, not necessarily as a fighter. Right? I'll put it differently, because I do believe that BJ Flores is very high level. Right? Same with Anthony Joshua. Joshua's champion for a reason. I'm not saying these guys are stiffs. But BJ Flores is the guy who's cautious. He's a technician who's looking for certain signs in the ring. Right? This is the guy who walks up to the pool, sticks his finger in before he jumps in. Then, before he jumps in, he looks around and asks if the pool is chlorinated. Right? He's a cautious fighter. So what happened against Shumenov, and I think it's instructive, is Shumenov's outside. He's feinting, he's hitting, he's moving, he's running, whatever you want to call it. Right? He's moving around the ring. And Flores just doesn't have it in him to stick his neck down and run forward like Golovkin did against Kell Brook. Right? Flores is just not a guy who's going to get out of his construct. Right? So Flores is moving around the ring like this while Shumenov is circling him, hitting him with jabs. Now, the reason why this Bellew fight, right, is intriguing is because Tony is not going to run away from BJ Flores. Right? Understand, it's kind of upside down. Right? I believe if you move away from Flores and Joshua, you have a clear path to victory. They have to catch you. They have to slow you down. They have to find you. They have to hurt you. If they don't do that, you're winning round after round. That's how I see it. Right? As I said, Shumenov loses the first 2 rounds, dominates the middle of the fight. Right? Takes over, dominates the middle of the fight. By the start of the 12th, you get the feeling Shumenov has won the fight. Right? I understand the CompuBox doesn't back me up. I'm just telling you the actual fight footage. Right? But if you're not on your back foot, as I said, it's upside down. If you're actually trying hard to hurt these guys, if you're on your front foot, as I suspect Tony's going to be against BJ Flores, then you're going to be at risk. Because Flores is a guy who can load up on counters. Right? You know, view it like running to a hurricane. It's like, you know the phrase, let sleeping dogs lie. If I'm fighting Anthony Joshua and he's asleep and he's cautious and he's slowly walking around, hey, I'll just dance around. I'll be Billy Conn, right? I'll just dance around, bank rounds, and unlike Billy, I'll stay away the whole fight, right? I'll wait for the judge to say, you know, and the new, right? I'm good as long as you give me the belt, right? I don't need to beat up the other guy. But if I try to beat up the other guy, if I actually run up to him and start to throw punches, then even the guy in the slow lane, right, is going to be prepared to fight back. Because he's looking for those cues. Right? So to me, you have cautious BJ Flores. That's how I think of him. Right? Cautious BJ Flores against near reckless Tony Bellew. Right? Tony is a guy who ends up in fights, doesn't he? Fights break out. Right? Tony has a quick left hook. Tony has an excellent right cross. Tony likes to mix it up with you. At times, he's going to find himself mixing it up with the wrong man. Adonis Stevenson beat the daylights out of him. Right? If a boxing match breaks out, Tony can actually be outboxed. Right? We saw that in the first Nathan Cleverly fight. In my opinion, and I know the judges didn't agree with me, that's all good. We saw that in the first Ike Chilemba fight. Right? Tony can be outboxed. But the one thing you know Tony is not going to be is out-efforted. Right? Tony is all in. Right? Tony's a guy who, if you don't stop him, he'll come forward and back you up against the ropes. That's the second Nathan Cleverly fight, isn't it? Right? Tony's a guy who, you know, in the middle of a shootout, can kick it up a gear. I think that's the Masternak fight. Is that his name? Right? Tony can kick it up a gear. So, I don't believe Tony can fight the Shumenov fight. I don't. I'll even go further. I think Tony's having a problem making weight. That's why he's calling out heavyweight David Haye. Right? Tony's a big man. Right? All of these guys are bigger than you think. Shumenov 6'2". BJ Flores is 6'2". Right? Bellew's a big man who's barely making the 200-pound weight limit. So, because I believe BJ Flores is going to be more dangerous in this fight than he was in the Shumenov fight, because he's going to have an opponent who's actually trying to fight him, not box him. I just don't see this fight going the distance. Now, I know it's a little bit controversial, right? Because, let's face it, Nathan Cleverly went the distance with Tony twice. But I get the feeling Bellew is literally going to be the kind of aggressive guy who's going to wake up the sleeping dog. I think Flores is going to be amazed at how many counter left hooks he can land on Tony. When Flores starts landing shots, it's like running up to Anthony Joshua, right? There's a point in Joshua fights where punches are actually landed, right? You know, the guys actually start trading, right? BJ Flores wants a guy to trade with him because Flores is a craftsman who wants to land counters. Tony Bellew wants an opponent to trade with him because Tony's a guy who wants to land big punches and hurt you. Right? So, unlike some of their fights, right? Shumenov went the distance against BJ Flores. The bet I'm recommending here, right? And it's simply a math play, is to take the underdog to win. Right? Why not? You're getting better than even money odds. Right? On BJ Flores. Right? Take the underdog to win so you have Flores by decision, coupled with Bellew by KO. Or Bellew, right? Some viewer corrected me, right? Coupled with, we'll call him Tony. Coupled with Tony by KO. I personally don't expect the fight to go the distance. I'm expecting someone to be KO'd. But if I'm going to get better than even money on the underdog, so if the underdog does win by decision, I still get a chance to collect, well, why wouldn't I take that side of the play? Right? So, I'm recommending BJ Flores to win the fight, simply to win hedged with Tony by KO. Right? Why? Because I actually expect this fight to be spirited. I'm expecting big punches to land. If Tony tries to fight a kind of bully fight where he tries to bully BJ Flores, understand that's what counterpunchers want. Right? They actually want you to come up and be aggressive with them, because they're waiting for you, by definition, to throw punches so they can counter you. And BJ Flores, who looked lethargic against Shumenov, needs a guy to get him out of his shell so he could be aggressive. In other words, you're fighting BJ Flores, he's asleep. Right? Let sleeping dogs lie. Beat him outside with a jab and movement. Have him follow you cautiously around the ring. Because Tony's not that kind of fighter, you're going to get a different BJ. You're going to get active counter-punching BJ Flores. When the bullets start flying, I think they're going to fly big time. Both of these guys are in their 30s. Right? If BJ starts landing counters, he's going to load up on the counters. If Tony starts getting hit and hurt, you know Bellew's defense is really his offense. He's going to start really exerting himself in the pocket. Expect heavy punches from both sides. Expect punches to land. Because I think a stoppage is possible, I'm just going to play the odds. And I'm going to say the underdog to win, hedged with the favorite by KO. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section to this video. Thanks for stopping by.